What if the most famous wooden structure in history wasn't actually made of cut lumber at all, but was like a giant living tree?
Yeah, that completely changes the whole visual, right?
It really does. When you picture ancient events, the images are usually so static, pre-cut wood, clean angles, just a manufactured scene. But today's deep dive is unpacking a pretty radical hypothesis from Ernest L. He argues that the crucifixion of Jesus actually took place on a massive rooted almond tree.
Right. And we are pulling from a really fascinating stack of sources to look at this today. We've got Roman military protocols, ancient legal texts, and even paleoclimatology records.
Okay, let's unpack this. To understand why a living tree would be used over a constructed cross, you have to look at the Romans. Their military efficiency essentially boiled down to a deep, profound hatred of unnecessary manual labor.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, crucifixion was a massive logistical headache. Digging deep holes in the notoriously rocky limestone of the Judean hillside just to hold heavy timber and, thrashing victims, that was exhausting work.
All right, think about it like this. If you need to put up a street sign, are you going to spend your whole afternoon digging a 5-foot hole in solid bedrock to plant a new post, or are you just going to nail it to an existing telephone pole?
Exactly. The Romans went with the telephone pole. To bypass all that digging, soldiers often used an arbor in felix, which means an unfortunate tree, just a sturdy, existing tree that could bear the weight.
That makes total sense.
Yeah, and the language of the era actually supports this too. Early texts use the Greek word xylon, which translates literally to living tree, not a manufactured plank.
Wait, but if you think about it, that raises a huge question. Could a tree massive enough to hold 3 adult men actually grow in the arid, rocky landscape of modern Jerusalem?
Well, that is where the paleoclimatology data steps in. Sediments from the Dead Sea and ancient isotope records actually prove the existence of a Roman warm period.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so during the 1st century, the climate was substantially wetter, easily capable of supporting dense vegetation and, massive trees.
Okay, yeah, so a wetter climate means bigger trees. I get that. But executions didn't happen in lush forests. They happened at specific, highly trafficked sites.
Right, which brings us to a major geographical shift in Martin's theory. The Sanhedrin, which was the ancient Jewish high court, had incredibly strict laws about ritual pollution. Executing someone inside the camp or near the city walls would ritually contaminate the holy space.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so to adhere to this jurisprudence, executions had to happen outside the official limits. Martin argues this actually forced the execution eastward to the Mount of Olives, right near the Mifkad altar, a site already designated for ceremonial sacrifices outside the camp.
Wait, back up. The traditional execution site is universally known to be in the West. You're saying strict Jewish law forced the Romans to completely relocate to the east.
According to the topographic and legal sources Martin synthesizes, yes. We have the climate for a massive tree, exactly where the law required the event to take place.
Okay, well, here's where it gets really interesting. Moving the site to a giant living tree actually solves one of the most bizarre logistical mysteries in the historical narrative.
Even the sequence of the leg breaking, right? The Crucifixion.
Exactly. So to hasten death by asphyxiation, Roman soldiers would break the victim's legs. But the historical text specifically notes the soldiers broke the first thief's legs, then the other thief's legs, skipping Jesus in the middle, leaving him for last.
Yeah, and if you have a straight line of 3 separate crosses, that makes 0 sense.
Right. Why walk past the middle guy, hit the third guy, and then walk back?
Linearly, it is completely absurd. But spatially, imagine all 3 men are affixed radially around the circumference of one massive tree trunk.
Oh, I see where you're going with this.
Yeah, so a soldier breaks the legs of the first man he encounters. To get to the next victim, he can't just step sideways. The physical obstruction of the huge tree is in the way. He literally has to walk in a circle around the trunk to the opposite side to hit the second thief and then return to the center-facing side for the middle victim.
Okay, the geometry definitely checks out. It perfectly explains why they skipped the middle guy. But honestly, I have to ask, could that just be a wild coincidence? Do we have anything else tying this to a living tree? Or is this just, highly convenient spatial math?
Well, Martin points to a very specific botanical setup here. He argues this was an almond tree. And just as a quick caveat, obviously we are looking at this strictly as a historical and academic puzzle today, exploring how these ancient ideas fit together. We are absolutely not endorsing them as religious truth.
Right, of course, just imparting the sources.
Exactly. But the symbolism he points out is undeniable. In ancient Jewish tradition, The menorah inside the temple was literally designed to look like a blooming almond tree.
Oh, wow. Wait, so if you have three men on one trunk, you basically have one central trunk and six outstretched human arms.
You got it. It creates a macabre, living menorah. It also aligns flawlessly with the ancient tree of life motif, which is this theological idea that cosmic redemption happens on a living tree in a garden.
Right, purposefully mirroring the original Garden of Eden.
Exactly. It all ties back together perfectly.
So what does this all mean for you listening? Obviously, this theory lacks hard archaeological proof. We aren't going to dig up a 2,000-year-old almond stump, you know?
No, definitely not.
But looking at the climate records, the Roman protocols, and the ancient geometry, it radically challenges our static assumptions. I want to leave you with a final provocative thought to mull over. Early Christian tomb art actually depicted the cross not as dead lumber, but as a living, sprouting tree.
Yeah, it really makes you wonder.
It does. How much of the clean manufactured history you visualize every day is based on literal truth, and how much is just centuries-old artistic